How's everybody doing?
Good.
Doing great. Excited. Just a couple more days of work and then a little bit of a break. It's gonna be fun. We've put in a lot of hours this spring, but it was really cool. Great camp. Just to see the guys get out there, and what we kind of challenged them with was two things. Number one, just compete every day with yourself in the classroom. Obviously, we have to be controlled with what we do on the practice field. There's things you can't do, but I thought they attacked the playbook. The meetings were great, and it's nice to have some film now to tie into the stuff that we were teaching in the classroom, going back from phase 1 to phase 2. But we're looking forward to Oxnard. It's going to be fun to put the pads on and do some real football.
Everyone always called it the Texas Coast offense.
I heard that. Yeah, very catchy. What do you guys think? You guys are the keys. I mean, yeah, I love that.
Well, how were you able to kind of combine those two things, what they were doing in the past and also the West Coast?
Well, I mean, I think we talked about this a little bit before. The number one thing is, I said it, and I do believe it. It wasn't broke. I mean, what they've done here over the last 5, 6, 7 years has been really good since Dak came in the league. We wanted to keep a lot of that in place. It's what our players know. We're a veteran, strong offense that's added some really cool pieces. We were very selective about the changes that we made. We tried to protect some of the language, the things that Dak has used for a long time, but we certainly added some wrinkles. And so, not to put a number on it, but we're somewhere in that, keep 70%-ish. We've certainly added some flavor, but I think the things that we've put in that were new, not only Dak, but Zach and Tyron and those guys, TP, they all like some of the adjustments and things that we've made. So it really has been a very collaborative thing where a lot of good give and take of the stuff that's been in place, stuff that Mike's done, stuff that I've done in Seattle. And again, it's nice to kind of get through this off season, and then we'll go to training camp, tweak some things, and then start getting ready for games.
Is the key on this always to get the input from your key players as you're installing it, to see, okay, what do we do here, what do we not do here? Have there been a couple things that you thought would work and you just go, well, this is not going, so let's...
Absolutely. I think in my career, I've learned almost as much from the players from other coaches I've been around as well. Like Isaac Bruce is probably, when I was in St. Louis as a young quality control coach under Dick Vermeil, Isaac Bruce taught me a lot of what I believe as a receiver background guy, and it's because they actually play the game. So of course Dak was involved in some of the things. We talked to Zach and Tyron, a lot of the veterans, but it's been cool because the staff that's in place, there's a lot of guys that were here, right? I'm new. Obviously Mike calling the plays is new. Mike Solari coming in is new, but there's a lot of guys that understand the history of what it's been here, and that made it easy for us to kind of kick ideas around and make decisions. But the players, certainly the veterans, were involved in some of the decisions that we made. And again, the things that we tweaked, they like it.
How do you and Mike view the tight end position this offseason with the youth in that room and the relative inexperience? Is it going to be a true committee approach as opposed to like a number 1, number 2, number 3? Yeah, it still remains to be seen, but absolutely. I think you look at that room, and that was one of the things I was excited about. Again, watching from afar last year, looking at Jake come in and Fergie having the success that he did, and then Henny, Sean McKeon doesn't get enough credit. He's a really good football player. So we want to roll tight ends through. We want to get guys involved in the game. We want to be multiple. Some of the things we're doing from a personnel standpoint, kind of attack the defense that way. But it's an exciting group, and they're very coachable. L-Dub does a great job with those guys. I talked a little bit about competing in the classroom. Those guys are on top of their stuff, which what you're seeing is they play fast. Like they're making quick decisions, they're decisive. So we're excited about that group, and we expect really good things. The youth aside, we're expecting really big things from that unit.
A lot of talk last year about Dak was the interceptions, obviously. And did you look at him like he needs to be fixed, and how when you come in and coach him, or do you look at it as that was a one-off as to different circumstances in those games kind of led to some of those efforts?
He certainly does need to be fixed. There's no question about that. I mean, guy's a great player. You guys know that. You guys have watched him more than I have. But he's a competitor, right? I mean, he's going to go out there and he's going to compete, and he's going to, I can make that throw. And so he's just got to understand situations of the game and down and distance and all that stuff, and clean up some of the decisions that, that he knows last year he kind of missed. But I love, one of my early experiences as a coordinator was with the Jets, and it was 2008, and I was coaching Brett Favre. And so you guys have seen Brett play. He would force a ball into try. There'd be like 3 guys there waiting for it. One of the 3 was going to catch it. And he'd come over, I'd be like, dude, like, what are you doing? He'd say, yeah, hey, my bad. I'd be, all right, we're good, and move on. And I'd get up to leave, and he'd go, hey, Shotty, I can make that throw, though. I can make that throw. I was like, dude, that's not the point. Yeah, you can make that throw sometimes. So it's a little bit of that competitive spirit. These guys, they all have that. And again, Dak loves some of the things that we're doing, from training the footwork and timing and some of the rhythm things, tying the routes to his feet. So we expect him to have a huge year.
With that, Mike's talked a lot this all season when he's talking about changes. It's like the protection. When you looked at some of those interceptions, was that a schematic some in your mind, just the protections that were or weren't there on certain throws, and that's being incorporated in?
When you look at interceptions, there's so many factors that go into it. But again, the point is this, the protection part of it, of us trying to want to tighten up some of the pocket, make it a little bit firmer, and how we kind of fit our backs into being a sideboard for different, whether you're sliding protections, things like that. That's something that we definitely wanted to address. And that's more of a philosophy for Mike and I that we've been around, and Mike Solari and I being together a couple different times. That is something that we've definitely worked towards doing, and I feel like we've come away with not only just the right answers and fits for blitzes, because everybody talks about blitzes and how you block those up, but just even in a four-man rush, whether you're sliding or whether you're a pocket declaration where you're blocking the mic, how you fit the pieces together. Because the backs are involved. Whether they're blocking somewhere or they're just fitting through a gap, they're always involved. And we definitely want to play in a physical mindset in all protections this year.
Speaking to with the Texas coached offense, Mike,
Yep.
with the additions of Deuce Vaughn and Hunter Lipke, you know what Tony can do. Is it accurate to say versatility in the backfield is a huge part of what, quote unquote, the Texas coached offense?
Yeah, we want to be multiple. Again, we talked about the personnel. Again, you talk about getting a guy like Deuce, although it was one of the coolest stories I've ever been around, been in a lot of draft rooms, war rooms. To this day, it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. The raw emotion of, Deuce and his dad, and it was just, it was awesome. But a player like that gives you flexibility. A player like Hunter gives you flexibility because there's so many things you can do. And if you watch Hunter's tape, he actually played tight end, he played running back, he played fullback. And so you love that flexibility because it keeps people off balance. So, and those guys did a great job. All the rookies did a great job of coming in and learning the system. And, they come in, they're behind the vets because the vets have been sitting in meetings for a couple weeks before you get them. But again, they've tackled the playbook, man. And it's been cool to see them. I wouldn't say they're caught up yet. They're not quite caught up yet, but we got a couple more days with them. But again, they are a lot further along than we thought they would be, and that's really a testament to them, but also the assistant coaches.
Coaching from afar last year, what's it been like going from kind of periphery to right in the middle of everything? I feel like handcuffs are off a little bit as a coach, kind of being back in the fold.
I enjoyed last year. I really did. More to kind of step back and just evaluate a lot of things. Just, spend time with my family, be around my family, but be here and kind of watch from afar. I love being on defense, with DQ because it was different for me. I've never I was a quarterback and I jumped right into coaching on offense, and so that was really interesting to see how they game plan and how they adjust the formations and some of the things that they do. But the biggest thing that came from last year, I think, was getting to know some of these players. Just getting to where it's like, hey, okay, this is what Zach Martin's all about, or this is what Tony Pollard's all about. That's what I really took the most from it. And I think that gives me a leg up, at least on the connection piece with these guys, that a brand new guy coming into this role wouldn't have. There's been multiple lobbyists on the defense side of the ball, multiple lobbyists. We're not going to let the cat out of the bag of who's lobbying the most, but sometimes there's snacks on my desk, so with a little ribbon, hey, Coach Shotty, just checking in to see if you need me today for practice. So we'll see how it looks, but been multiple lobbyists.
Watching Cooks run by people, do you want to go and design things to get him the ball a little bit more?
I'm a big fan of Brandon, and the speed is evident, but just watch the way he works in practice. Jalen Tolbert's had an incredible camp. And if you talk to Jalen, what Jalen's going to tell you is he's spent a ton of time with Brandon. And so here's a guy that's been there, done that. And what Brandon wants to do, although come and learn the system, is he wants to encourage and invest in the younger guys. And so those guys spend a lot of time together. I see them before practice in the weight room working together. So what Brandon brings us is way more than just speed, and absolutely, it's really fun to watch him run.
Right.
Whether it's deep routes, short routes, it really doesn't matter. But what I love is the competitor and the way he is encouraging that entire room of receivers. It's been awesome.
It's funny because every time we ask somebody about Brandon, we talk about his speed. That's one we say, and they bring up this other stuff.
Yeah.
What he's doing to other players. Is that unique for someone to come in such a short time to have that type of impact?
I'd say number one, it's two things. Number one, he's a veteran that's been around. I was not surprised by it because obviously, Drew Brees and I are very close. And when we made the move to get Brandon, the very first text I got was from Drew. And Drew was like, "You are going to love this guy." And so, and Drew is, he's a hard guy to give out a lot of, positive reinforcement. But he was like, "Hey, you're going to love this guy." So I was not surprised. But again, until you see it yourself, you don't realize that he doesn't have to do that, but he wants to do that, and he goes out of his way to do it. And that's why, again, it's worth pointing that out. I think he's been a big influence on Jalen as well.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, guys.